happens a lot of time with
I've
me because it's
yeah,
the people who
I've
are
recorded
from Pro
2 hour
League.
sessions.
They know what. Okay, cool. So usually, when I use Photoshop, I take 300 resolution pixel per inch and then 16-bit. I work in 16-bit, not 32, but I think 16 is enough to work with. And then all other settings, they are just, artboard settings. You can choose whatever resolution you want. And people who are new, like, who don't know how to use Photoshop, I'm not gonna jump into tools and stuff. I'm just gonna clear the concept behind that particular poster so that you can create something similar easily no matter what tool you're working on. Okay, so let me just copy. um do you guys know you can just copy and paste things here? It's not working. Fuck. Okay, my bad, sorry. I don't know, it works with the internet, but yeah, cool, it works. So you can just hit copy and paste and your image will come in Photoshop. Let me just create a new file again. Okay, so this is our image, which we are supposed to, learn. But first thing, just I'm going to teach you how to unfold creatives. Okay, if you look at it, if you're a designer, if you have already worked with Photoshop, if you know how things work, this is a very basic thing to do in Photoshop. Okay, it's just some cropping with pen tool, these smooth lines, these smooth things, and then there is a shadows which you see over here, which gives it a 3D feel, but I'll say it's not beautifully done. It's not how things look in 3D world. Okay, these shadows which you see over here, they are very badly done in this particular creative. But we'll talk about the concept. If there is any 3D form in your place, it doesn't have to be a statue. It can be, because in this particular poster it's a statue, but if it's a human figure, if it's a human face, or it's just a simple uh, let's say sphere, or simple basic shapes, how do we deal with the shadow part when it comes to these kind of creatives? And all these cuttings which you see over here, you know this guy tried to crop it out and plus maintain the 3D form. That's the only thing you need to worry about when it comes to this type of creatives. Okay, so let's say if we have, first thing about shadows, I'm just gonna tell you how bad this shadow is, because it's a flat shadow. It is making it look 2D, but actually we are working with a 3D form. Okay, this statue is a 3D form, so we need to maintain it. We don't uh, want to destroy it by adding this flat shadow which you see over here. Okay, there are around 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, some around 10 to 12 layers, and we'll learn how to crop any 3D form, how to maintain that 3D sense in that particular crop. And then we'll talk about the lighting. Okay, this guy is able to maintain the lighting and the shadow part, because if you see, the light is coming from this particular direction. Okay, you can see the shadows over here, and he have tried to maintain that. Okay, the shadows are uh, following the same direction. Okay, if light is coming from here, the shadow will definitely fall on this side of the particular object. So we'll take similar photo. I don't know, let's find something, a statue photo. Okay, uh I think this guy is good enough. Okay, it's not a very high res image, but I think it's workable. So I'm just gonna copy paste. And when you copy paste things directly from internet, it will adjust according to your artboard. And the thing is, it is like let's say if this particular image is 1000 pixels into 1500, let's assume that it's 2000 pixels and our artboard is 1500. It is going to adjust according to our artboard. That image will become 1500 pixels instead of 2000. But if you want to maintain that resolution, what you can do is you can just save it instead of um, copy pasting. You can save. It's it's some other format. Let me just, okay. And when you bring image from this particular thing, it is gonna be imported in smart object. That there is rasterized object and then there is a smart object. Okay, smart object is basically you can increase, decrease size. If I just scale it up, it will maintain the resolution of the image, and even if I scale it down, it will maintain the resolution of the image if it's a smart object. Okay, I'll show you the difference. So if you zoom in, you are able to see, it's getting pixelated for now. Okay, but when you are in smart object, it will never change anything. You can always resize it and reuse it. It will come back to the original resolution. But if it's a rasterized image, okay, I'm just gonna change this to a rasterized layer. um, Rasterize. Now when you will scale it up, you will see the difference. Okay, so smart object is adjustable with the resolution, but um, rasterized layer will adjust according to your artboard. Okay, the resolution of your artboard, it will contain those pixels, the pixels which you see over here. Now they are permanent because we rasterized it. You can't really use this image now. If you scale it up, you're gonna see something really bad. Okay, it's uh, because the actual pixel size of this image is this right now, this particular. Okay, so it's very less. So it's important to work in a smart object form. um, I don't recommend working in rasterized layers because it's a destructive way of doing things, even though I do a lot. But I'll recommend, don't do destructive editing to your images. Okay, so let me just bring my image again. Okay, so this is our particular image. I'm just gonna crop it fast. So there are multiple ways to crop it out. You can use auto selection, which is there, which many people use, the quick selection tool that is there, but I never use it. Other thing is you can use pen tool, okay, to just make a layout of this particular, you just have to draw a line um, around this particular object, and you can keep it on path or shape. No matter what you do, it will do your job. But the process is, you just crop it out. Okay, it's boring, but it gives you a very accurate results. I'll show you the difference between both. But the auto cropping tool and this particular thing. Okay, so the method which I use when I want to do things faster is that I'll just go to select and I'll select subject. Okay, this will select a particular object for me, which is automatically done. You don't need to crop anything or anyway, and you just hit Control J. You can see, there are some things happening over here which are not, accurate. We don't want this bad cropping happening here. Okay, and other thing, I don't want the stand. I just want this particular area. So what I'll do is I'll just um, erase it out. Okay, I'm just gonna deselect this particular area, and okay, now we have selected this particular object. So now hit Control J, or Control J, is just, it will duplicate the layer which you have selected right now. The part which you have selected, it will duplicate it into a new layer. Okay, so if I just press Control J, you'll not see any change, but there is a shift in the layers panel. If I hide the background layer now, you'll be, you are able to see this crop. Okay, but now the problem is, the automation tool which Photoshop uses, it's not too accurate. but it does a fine job. Okay, you can refine these edges after cropping, but uh, it's workable. Okay, it's not like it's a bad tool, but sometimes it creates these kind of effects, which we don't need. And mostly it's when the image is blurred. Okay, when image is sharp enough, it will never do a bad job. But for now, in our particular image, this the focus is on the face and the blur amount is too much on the neck. And that's why we are able to see this bad cropping happening on the edges. Okay, so the other way, why I use pen tool is that it's upon us. Okay, it's like you are the boss and you can do whatever you want to do with the cropping. Okay, and when you do it, you will get a very smooth cutout. Okay, so let's say if I just take pen tool from here to here. Okay, I'm keeping it inside because I don't want that gray color of the background to come in my crop. So just okay. So just to give you example, I'm just gonna crop this part a little. Right click, make selection, done, and okay, control it. So you can see now the crop is perfect. Uh it's amazing. It's because it's in your hand how you want it to look. But with this particular creative, our cropping was very bad because the automation tool tries to maintain uh, the particular blur too while it selects. So you can use this particular tool, the cropping, the automation tool, it's fine. But if you want to go as a perfectionist, you should use pen tool because there is no hair selection over here. There is just fine edges. Okay, so it's a statue, even though this thing have hairs, but it's not like real human hairs, which is very difficult to crop sometimes. But here you don't need that. You can just select with pen tool and that will work fine. Okay, so and just keep in mind, whenever you do these kind of stuff, try to take images which are focused. Okay, which are all in focus. You should not see these kind of blurs or anything in your image. Okay, it doesn't do anything, but still it's a workflow. You'll get a better quality. All the details which you see over here, they are blurred right now. Okay, so when you edit it, you will be able to notice this blur somewhere. So it's good to pick a photo which is all in focus, which doesn't have a point focus, or it's blurring some part. And other thing, it will help you crop out. If you are using automation selection, it will um, help you crop better. Okay, so let me just delete that. I'm gonna work with this because I just want to give you example. I'm not gonna create anything, but it's just teaching you the ways of doing things. Okay, so this particular gray thing, it's looking good, even though the creative which we have decided it is using a gray color. But uh, cool, I'll use something similar. Okay, I'm picking up color from the statue itself because it will look good, I guess. I hope so. Okay. Yeah, cool. It's workable. Okay, anybody have any doubts so far? Like I'm going
Hey, what can we use this automation while if we have like hair, some people's hair, right? While doing the hair,
it works fine. Again, it depends on the situation. It depends on what kind of a background you have. To give you a
hmm,
quick example, I can just, let's say a portrait maybe. Okay, let's say if you have this particular image, it will work
yeah,
fine. Okay, it will
okay.
work almost, it's almost near to perfection. So let me just give you example. If we have this image over here, I'll just go to select and select subject. Okay,
Hmm.
and I'm just going to press J, and you're able to see, it's cropping here, but still, that blue color is still there from the background. but it does a
Yeah.
fine job. Okay, it does a fine job.
Okay.
Okay.
So is it so it's better to use right that selecting by own, right?
See, there is another way to crop hairs, but today let's not jump into that because that's another topic. There are a lot of ways to do it,
Okay, sure.
and for now, just stick to images which don't have those details. Just
Yes,
work with the images which you can get sharp edges from.
sure. Thank
Okay, so I'm just gonna refine this particular crop because you definitely have to do it when you use auto selection tool. Okay, so I'm doing a destructive way of doing things, but cool. You guys work in as a smart object. Instead of cropping it out, what you can do is, if you want to work in non-destructive way, uh, let me just bring this image in. Okay, scale it up. I think this is okay. Go to select subject. Okay, I'm doing the same thing again. Okay, so now instead of uh, pressing Control J, what you can do is you can hit this clip mask. Okay, this will mask your layer, and the thing is, it will never destroy your background. It will never harm your original image. Okay, so if I just click over here, you'll be you are able to see that it's been cropped out, but still, the thing is, it's reserved. The original image, it's reserved. It's just the masking is all about creating a black and white layer which will show black is for non-visible and white will be visible. Okay, so if you are able to see this particular icon, the white part is visible and the black part is not visible. Okay, so and the thing is you can change it easily. Okay, instead of damaging it permanently, your image is still in um, smart object. Okay, so you can scale down. No matter what you do, it will never affect the resolution or your image. Okay, and now the thing is, we were erasing this stuff, but instead of that, now what we can do is we can just select this mask layer, and you can take simple brush tool. Let me just take a simple brush. Okay, so now if you take white color, as I told you, white is for visibility. If you want to make something visible from that image, you can use white color to do that. My opacity. Okay, so now the thing is we are bringing back that particular portion, okay, wherever we are painting. But if you want to crop something out from this particular image, we are not able to do it with white color. Okay, again, same thing. White is for to make it visible, black is to make it invisible. Okay, so choose black color, and now you will be able to crop that part. Okay, but the thing is, the non-destructive way is good because you are never damaging your original image. You can just if you want to see how it works, I can just unlink both layers, the mask layer and original image, and I can select both differently. Okay, if I select this and press Ctrl J, you can see how it's working. That's this particular part, the color part which we were doing, it's a mask. Okay, you can change it, you can do whatever you want, and same thing you can do with mask layer. Okay, if I just select the mask layer, you can scale it up, scale it down however you want. Okay, so this is non-destructive way of doing things. I'll prefer this, but mostly I don't follow these. I just go on destructive ways. Cool. So mask it, and now I can do the refining by just taking brush tool and paint it out. Okay, it's doing the same job, but the only difference is it's not um damaging our original image. Okay, you guys clear with the uh, part of working in destructive and non-destructive way when it comes to cropping? Okay, there are a lot of things, but for cropping, I think this is enough. Okay, you guys able to understand what's happening so far?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay, okay. So now the part comes, the part where uh, the actual thing needs to be done. The 3D cropping. I'll say it. The to crop a 3D form, you need to follow that 3D form. Okay, uh, if we take example of, let's say, a sphere. Let me just create a new board. I'm just gonna color it black. Okay, instead of creating. Okay, copy paste doesn't work with PNG, so uh, make sure, sometimes people complain that I see a black color on my image. PNG doesn't work with copy pasting. Okay, so now to understand what's happening there, this is a 3D form, this is a complex 3D form, but if to explain it, I'm just using a simple form. But to crop, okay, when let's say you want to crop a 3D form, you can't just do this. Okay, that's the part which is complex, and that's how that creative has been made. Okay, if you just do this and make selection, let's say, and erase it, this is a wrong way of doing things. Okay, you need to follow that particular 3D form. Let's say, it's a sphere, so just keep that in mind. Let's say these curves and stuff, if you have already worked in 3D softwares, you'll know uh, how to follow a 3D form. There are lines over here. Okay, you can just follow those lines. Let's say, if I want to make a crop, you need to follow that curve. Okay, like this, you need to follow this particular curve to crop anything out, like this. Okay, so this is just example. Obviously on sphere it's not gonna work, but to give example, let me just do it on here. The shape of this particular 3D object is way complex than a simple sphere, so you can't really just go ahead and do something like this. Okay, which at some places this guy have done, but will not do that. Okay, so to crop the 3D form, you need to follow the lines. Okay, if you see here, you need to follow the depth of that particular object. Let's say if I start let's say if I want to crop this particular part, let's say I want to cut out the nose, the lower half of this object. The way to do is, you need to follow this particular line. Okay, so it's a 3D form. You can feel your face, you can touch your face, and you can see how this 3D form has been there. Okay, you can just, if you start, you just have to follow this 3D form. Okay, again a curve over here. You can actually touch your face and feel how this 3D form looks, because it's a human face, so you can do that. Okay, so this is the right way of doing things, to follow that particular 3D form, to follow these lines. Even this is the easiest thing over here, to cut this particular thing. But if you want to jump into complex cropping, this is your way here. Okay, this is difficult. Okay, this part to crop is easy, but let me just, okay, now let's do it again. Okay, let's do a little complex part. Let's say I want to crop it in half. Okay, now instead of horizontally, I'll try vertically, so that it covers some more 3D depths. Okay, some person is. Someone is unmute. I don't know. Cool. Uh, okay. So to follow this part, there is a lot of complexion over here. You don't need to follow that all along, but just try to play around with. Okay, let's just, this form is like this. You can just select this. This form is all like, maybe like this. Then it's again coming up like this. Then again like this. Okay, so I'm just following. If you're getting this idea about how to crop a 3D form.
So we just have to follow the shadows, right?
Not shadows, sometimes it's the shadows are not even there is a very soft shadow sometimes. Here it's, it's coming from one direction, so it's easy to understand the 3D form, but sometimes it's coming from very front of your face. You will be able to, you are not gonna be seeing any shadows over there. So it's about understanding the 3D form which you're working with. Okay, instead of
Okay, I
concentrating
got
on the shadows, you need to focus on what kind of 3D form you're working with. Okay,
it.
so
Okay, I got
so there is a depth over here at the nose. So there is a broken piece over here right now. Okay, so it's complex. Normally what will happen is the nose is gonna be like this. Okay, the crop will happen uh, something like this. Okay, if we are working with a normal nose, but it's broken, so we have to work with that. Okay, so let me just bring it in center. Now here comes the complex part. Okay, now now is the time where shadow is guiding you over here. Okay, but sometime it's not gonna be there, so just make your own way and understand the form. Okay, now lips maybe like this. Okay, so it's little boring, when you do it, but final results are obviously, worth waiting. It will give you more perfection. It will look more, uh, beautifully done. Like, this creative, it's done randomly. It's not following any 3D form or anything like that while cropping. Okay, if I just crop it here, now the thing is you can't really continue over here. Okay, the crop will go way over here like this, and then maybe somewhere over here you can start the next crop. Okay, because it's again following the depth of that particular object, you need to do it like this. Okay, so I think we have done this particular thing. I'm just gonna make a selection and we'll jump into the shadow part. Okay, so the cropping part, it's just you are not able to see any difference because we haven't given any type of shadows so far. So to give shadow, one way is to just double click on this layer, which that guy have done. um, Apply drop shadow and change the direction. First of all, just increase the opacity all the way to 100, and then slowly bring it down, and maybe adjust the size, the distance, and scale it down maybe over here. Then you can play around with the opacity, and you are able to see what mm, you know is happening over here. Okay, so it's good, but to again to achieve much better results in this particular shadows, you can do this too. It's workable if you are a starter, if you are a beginner, but if you want to do a fantastic job, you need to follow some other path. Okay, this is just basic drop shadow. Again, when you do shadows, you need to follow the 3D form again. Okay, to give you example, uh, I do it a lot. Okay, I don't use that common drop shadow part. If you just wanna have a look, let me just open my Instagram. Uh, if you look at this particular creative, the shadows which are being done over here, I try to follow the actual shadows of this particular picture. Okay, so it's difficult. Okay, it's hard to understand at first, but slowly when you'll start doing it, you'll get the idea how it's done. Okay, let me just show you what I'm gonna be doing right now. Okay, if you look at this particular creative, if you use simple drop shadow option um, uh, in the layer, it's not gonna look like this. It's not gonna follow these particular 3D forms. But when you do it in a custom way, you can actually do it. Uh, you can make these 3D forms more visible. It will actually look like it's on that particular object. So to give you a quick example, I'm just gonna again bring in this sphere, and to do it is, the lighting is coming from this particular direction. You can see the highlight over here. So let me just drag a rectangle or something, like a white color. Okay, so for now it's there is no shadow. Okay, so the shadow which we talked about right now, it's this. Okay, which is making your object, your 3D object, look flat. Okay, it's becoming 2D because of this particular shadow. Even though whatever you do, it's not gonna give it a good way to represent. So the custom way is to just copy this exact same layer on the same place, uh, change the color. I'm just gonna rasterize it because I'm gonna distort it, and I'm gonna customize it according to the background shape. Okay, and then just to show you, I'm just gonna color it black for starting. Okay, after we are done, after you're sure my shadow is looking good, then you can play around with the opacity part. Okay, so for now our black layer is behind this particular white square, so let's bring it in a good place, maybe over here. Okay, this, I think this will work fine. So let's say our rectangle is just it's very close to this particular sphere. So the basic, you know if you have worked in Blender, I'm just going to give you a quick example, how this lighting works. So we'll try to maintain that light, plus we are gonna do a same type of shadow which we are able to see on this particular sphere. Okay, so okay, the lighting which you see over here is something like this. Let me just okay, something like this, but it's more dark and stuff like that. Okay, so it's similar to this. Let me just and transfers. Okay, so it's something similar. Now let's try to add a rectangle, the piece which we have added over here. Let's try to add it in a 3D form. Okay, so I did this thing a lot. I jumped into 3D tools to understand how shadows exactly work. I try to uh, do exact same shadows with the object and see how things work, how it will react if I place any object in front of it. So there is a lot of work when it comes to shadows, when you are when you have to maintain a very original shadow. Let me just add a plane, rotate it, and bring it in front, scale it like this. Okay, so this is something similar which we are doing over here, but uh, okay, so if you see now, this is the kind of shadow which we need to make, okay, in 2D form, in Photoshop, because we are not in 3D space over here, so we can't really just add a light and we will get a shadow like this. So we need to make that, okay, and it's not gonna happen with drop shadow which we were working with. over here. Okay, so we'll need to make a custom shadow like this, which will look something similar. Okay, we don't need to make exactly like this, but uh, I'll say something similar will work. Okay, so using that using that particular thing, what I'll do is select this particular form and use wrap. Okay, for starting I'm just gonna use this um like this, maybe like this. Okay, maintaining the 3D form. If some light is coming from this particular direction, I'm able to do it perfectly in the very first time because I have practice. You guys are gonna struggle a lot because it is something difficult to understand when it comes to lighting. So this is first step which you can do, which is workable, which will look fine. But now the thing is, this subject is going out of our league. Okay, it's going out of this particular object. Our object is here, so just do a simple thing, just select this and erase this thing out. Okay, I'm just gonna select inverse, or maybe don't do it right now because we are gonna add some soft blur to this side. As we are able to see over here, the light is going very soft over here. Obviously the light is not exactly same between both these images, but we'll try to do something similar. Okay, so there is blur over here, then there is blur over here, which is too much, and we'll try to do that. Okay, so to start with, I'm just gonna add a simple blur, a Gaussian blur maybe. Okay, so now you are able to see, we are starting to getting that soft blur, which we see over here. This blur we don't need it, we'll adjust it later, but to give it a right amount of blur, I'm just gonna add 19 around ish. Okay, it depends on what amount of over here. If Okay, let me just cancel it. Over here the light is very hard. Okay, it's not soft light which you see over here. Okay, if you want to take an example of what kind of light is there, it's okay, I'm changing back spawns. Cool. Okay, so it's something similar. Okay, it's not too soft and it's not too hard like this. Okay, it's in between, because you're able to see this soft shadows over here. Okay, so lightings depends, lighting here is different than lighting over here. So just make sure you're understanding the lighting first, because otherwise you are gonna you are not able to create a perfect shadow over there. So to understand shadow, you need to understand the lighting of the situation. And let's again apply the blur. Okay, I'm just gonna bring it down. So depending on this particular image, I think this amount of blur is good enough if object is close to the sphere. And now we can erase this. Okay, now we can just erase this thing. Okay, delete this. Okay, now we are able to see this in a good manner. Let me just change the color of the background. We are able to see the rectangle properly. Okay, it still looks flat because it's the shadow which is here, it's making it look flat. Okay, so what you can do is you can use smudge tool, which I do when I want to refine my shadows. I'll scale it up, hardness 0, and I'll start. Okay, is it happening? I've selected a wrong layer. Okay, cool. So if you do this, you will be able to do a very fine job. Don't do strength 100. I just did it because it wasn't happening. Cool. So you can now adjust your shadows according to whatever you want. Maybe making this shadow a little longer than this, bringing it down. And the thing is, when you use Smudge Tool, it makes your shadow even smoother. Okay, it's if I just keep doing this over here, you will be able to see it's getting softer and softer. So I use Smudge Tool because it helps me refine my shadows very properly. Okay, I'm just trying to create this particular thing. Okay, that soft thing over here. And at last, the opacity part is the last thing. Okay, the amount of visibility of the shadow which you need. So I'm just making it look smooth over here, maybe do some refining over here. Okay, so now our particular object is following the 3D form. Okay, if you look at it, it looks like the shadow is falling on that 3D object, but there is more work to do. Is the last step is to play around with the opacity of the shadow. Okay, down, I don't think so we need to change anything. I think it is perfect because the shadow is too, it's black. Okay, so we need this black over here, but on upside, we need to lower the opacity. So what you can do is you can just take eraser and set the opacity to somewhere around 20 to 15, and slowly start erasing it out. Okay, it is scale it like this, maybe like this. Okay, now I think it's looking much better. Now we are following a 3D form, the shadows are perfect, and it's the same thing you need to do in complex model. Okay, here it's a simple 3D form, a sphere, but here it's a human face. So you need to understand that human face, maybe watch some uh, videos on how to work with shadows. Not, you don't have to watch Photoshop videos. You can just watch videos where people are sketching things. Let's say if you want to understand shadows properly, if you are not familiar with 3D tools, what you can do is you can just go to YouTube and search for shadow, I don't know, maybe in sketching. Okay, so if you look at this particular thing, watch all the videos and you will be able to understand all the shadows. Okay, if you want to understand a human face structure, you can do that, because people who do sketching, they have a great knowledge. Okay, people like this, they'll uh, explain you in much better way. Okay, and how shadows work, how your 3D form works while you're working on a 2D surface. Okay, it's hard to maintain 3D form. So I'll recommend watch these kind of videos to understand shadows, and then you will not do silly mistakes like how this guy have done, making it look flat. And the other thing is, again, the whole concept, concept wise, I think we are clear. You just need to crop in a 3D form. And the colors, it's just fancy colors. You can just look on open ribbons or behance, just pick up any color which you like. Okay, these colors look good. Okay, just pick it and use it. You don't have to think about it. But the major part, that was cropping. And the mistakes this guy have done is shadow and cropping. Okay, the cropping is just straight, the shadows are making it flat. Okay, so understanding that how 3D form works, how 3D shadows you can create in 2D place, I think this is how you can do it. Okay, you can create much better poster from this by just understanding how this works. Okay, all the gradient and colors, that is secondary part. But um I am a person who works in detail. All things should look very perfect. So I think you should follow like that, because it helps you improve a lot. Because achieving perfection, it's very hard. Okay, so try to do it, try to work around it. Do similar kind of assignments if you want to understand shadows. And I think this is the best thing you can do: watch videos on shadows. Okay, and understanding 3D form, it will help you in cropping, it will help you in understanding lighting, it will help you in maintaining the shadows throughout the creative. Okay, all good.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep. Okay, speak up, dude. We are finished. I don't. I told you I don't want
Yeah.
to jump into the creative part of this thing. I'm just clearing the concepts how you can make something similar but a better version of this thing.
Okay, so like after cropping, we have to play with the shadows, right?
Yeah, understanding 3D form first thing, understanding light second thing, and then with respect to that, making shadows on a 3D surface. Okay, so keep these three things in mind and try to, mm, practice it a lot. And I think for me, it was easy. I was able to create this shadow easily, but just try it, because you have seen it happening. Maybe, you will be able to do it in first try, but go, just try it. And the more you practice, you'll become more perfect towards this thing.
Sure, sure. Thank you.
Anybody have any questions? Everybody clear? Ooh,
Yeah, it was pretty interesting.
okay, okay.
I will try to make something like this. I'll show
You
you
can
later.
do, you can do, and maybe, instead of using a statue, try to start with a simpler form of 3D. Let's say if you, this is a human form, it's pretty hard to understand, all the curves and uh things on the face. It will come with practice, but start with a simpler form. Maybe, I think sphere, basic basics, basic shapes are perfect thing to start with if you want to understand shadows and if you want to understand lighting.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I will start with spheres and then the geometric shapes.
Okay, okay, okay. Try to do this thing with maybe, uh sphere or cube, maybe cylinder, and see how you do here. And then while doing that, you will understand a lot about complex things.
Sure, sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
should I stop the recording or anybody want to ask anything else? Okay, I'm stopping the